What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the NCSL Dynasty here on NCAA 14, and also featuring that college football revamp as well. We are closing in on about a third of the way through the season. We are starting to see some contenders and maybe some pretenders being shown, maybe being revealed over the course of this episode. We do have a really exciting slate of games for you guys here today, as we do have 16 nationally televised games for you over the course of this episode, plus studio updates as well as other box scores throughout the country. So plenty of college football coverage here in week number 5 within this third season of the NCSL. So I hope you guys enjoy it. It's going to be a fun one here today. So if you're excited for this episode, do me a huge favor. Go ahead, smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. I'll see you guys on the various football fields around the country. So let's go ahead and get week number 5 action officially underway, and we're going to start out on the West Coast. Oregon State going to be taking on the number 10 ranked UCLA Bruins, as both teams are still searching for their first win in conference play. They both dropped their openers against USC and Washington respectively, and it looks like UCLA is looking like the hotter team so far, jumping out to a 7-0 lead. But the opening drive for Oregon State, the Beavers looking to tie things up against this number 10 ranked team in the nation, and they'll get it down into a goal line situation as well, which Oregon State is going to punch in. Scott Green is going to find the end zone, and we have ourselves a tie ball game. Do we have a possible upset alert on our hands to get things started, as we still have a very competitive game moving in through the first half? That is a long kick that ends up being converted by UCLA. So now it's all tied again at 10 apiece. But Oregon State does have a chance to take the lead before we do go into that halftime locker room, as they'll try to set up the halfback screen. Looks like this tailback's got plenty of space on the outside, and Jeremy Huffman nearly picks up the first down, but it's going to be 3rd and inches instead, and they're going to choose to pass for the first down. Green looking to run inside and finds an open receiver, and that puts Oregon State in the red zone, a chance to pull ahead. Green looks to the right inside and gets it out to Robbie Burns for a 10-yard reception. Now looking at a 1st and goal situation now, as Green gets his guys to the line quickly. They do only have one timeout to work with. Green looks around, goes to the left-hand side. It's intercepted, and he's going to have a convoy as well. No one is going to be catching him, and he is going to be gone like a girl in a country song as well. Touchdown UCLA. And how about that for a turn of events? If UCLA wins, you can definitely look back to that particular play being the ultimate difference. And that was a 2-touchdown swing potentially that could really make the difference in this particular ball game. But we still have a lot of football left. We now jump into that second half between Oregon State and UCLA. Oregon State does drive down the field to start this second half, and Green is going to fire towards the corner of the end zone. That is a dime to Robbie Burns. So it is tied up once again, but UCLA putting together a drive of their own, and that's going to end in a touchdown of their own. That's going to be Brian Daniels. That's going to scamper into the end zone for the UCLA Bruins. So a 7-point game once again, as Oregon State was forced to punt the ball away. So the Bruins trying to drive downfield once more, and Brian Daniels leads yet another touchdown drive for the Bruins of UCLA. 31-17 now your score, and it looks like the Bruins are trying to pull away here in the 4th quarter. Here in that City of Angels here in Los Angeles. Jake Cook almost finds the end zone for the first time today, but it's going to be stuffed at the 1-yard line though, and we're looking at a 3rd and goal now. Daniels trying to run out onto the perimeter, and Daniels is going to score. Touchdown UCLA, and the Bruins pulling away quickly could be turning into a surprising blowout. Was not expecting it to turn into a blowout, considering Oregon State was just so competitive in that first half, but in the second half that has certainly not been the case, as Daniels will help UCLA score yet again, and the Bruins do win convincingly, winning their first conference game of the year 45-20 here at home. But now we have a couple of other games getting ready to kick off, notably 2 top 20 teams being featured here shortly, as we'll start with number 16 Florida going on the road to take on the Wildcats of Kentucky, as we do get a quick look at one of your guys' customs. He's the backup quarterback for the Kentucky Wildcats. That's just incredible. He'll be the future face of this Kentucky program, 5-star prospect as well, so you love to see that. But Florida, this seems like it could be Florida's day today, as the Gators have really had this resurgent time in this NCSL Dynasty. This was a team, mind you, that did not go to a bowl game on year number 1, because they did end up finishing below 500. But here they are, here in year number 3, and it's been a much different story. This Florida team has looked significantly better, and that is going to continue as they're pulling away from this Kentucky Wildcats squad, holding the Wildcats just to field goals and not allowing them to get into the end zone. It's hard to win in that modern college football atmosphere, in that modern college football landscape, if you can't get into the end zone, which Kentucky almost does. We thought we were going to have a garbage time score with a minute left, but the Gators don't even allow that to happen. And while it wasn't the prettiest game for the Florida offense, they still win convincingly here, 27-9. And now we go and shift out to the state of Arkansas, where we'll find the number 18 ranked team in the country. Well, they'll be hosting a winless Texas A&M squad. They're off to an 0-3 start right now, and Texas A&M, listen, they're a classic case of they're better than what their record might have shown thus far. But this Arkansas team at the same time is also pretty darn good. 3-1 start for Arkansas, ranked number 18 in the country. They're going to be looking to try to compete for that Sun Belt Championship, as Arkansas is going to get this pitch out on the perimeter. Is going to run it down the sideline, and that's going to be a first down for Texas A&M. A 22-yard run sets them up with a goal line situation, one that Texas A&M looks to take advantage. And how is that caught? Marcus Morgan was double covered. How does Michael Harrell find space to get that in there into the end zone? I have no idea. But I do have an idea on why we're showing special teams. We don't do it often, but something is about to go down. One man left to beat, and it's going to not be caught. Touchdown, Sonny Humphrey. A 96-yard scamper that gives the lead right back to Arkansas. You love to see it if you're a Razorbacks fan. And now Texas A&M, they can't score. They have to punt the ball away. And now we're looking at a possible double dip situation. But they have a backup quarterback in Derek Arnold. He's a true sophomore. Starter did end up getting shaken up. He'll return the second half. But for now, it's Derek Arnold's time. And he's doing all right, running the team, as that's going to be a good throw. Again, to Sonny Humphrey. He's been electric in this second quarter. Got that 25-yard reception, as well as the special teams touchdown, as Arnold looking to drop back under shotgun. Looking, throws over the middle, and look what he finds. He finds Sonny Humphrey. How about that for the last couple of minutes for this kid? He single-handedly distanced the Arkansas Razorbacks away from Texas A&M. And here's the kicker. Arkansas also got the ball to start this second half as well. So Texas A&M, they are straight up not having a good time by any stretch of the imagination. But we still have Derek Arnold in the game. Derek Arnold still stepping in for the time being. Running the offense pretty well, though. Got Lionel Sanders out in the flat, and that sets up 1st and goal inside the 1-yard line. It looks like should be an easy punch, and it turns out that it is. Kevin Johnson's gonna score, and Arkansas never looks back after that. The Razorbacks win 49-21, and Texas A&M, them boys are still looking for that first win. So now we got a couple of games getting ready to kick off. But first, how about Hawaii? The Rainbow Warriors finished 2-10 back in year number 1. They're number 9 in the country. But before we see their game specifically, we will check in on this Oklahoma and Baylor game. Custom quarterback Wes Jordan, that's one of your guys' custom players. He's going to take a little 13-yard scamper there to make it 1st and goal. And then we'll see Wes Jordan punch it in there. That's going to be a 1-yard touchdown. Gives Oklahoma an early deficit to try to work through. And that was only in the first quarter. Lots of scoring happening in that first quarter of action. We'll see if the same persists here in that second quarter as Baylor seeks to go to 2-1 and try to get an early conference win in what could be a difficult to navigate Big 12 conference, right? So Baylor does get another touchdown on the board. Wes Jordan handles his business in the red zone yet again. But Oklahoma looking to storm back. Quarterback trying to run into the end zone himself. Actually takes a man into the next dimension, but he does go out of bounds. If he didn't go out of bounds there, that was certainly going to be a touchdown, but won't hurt him on the scoreboard long term, though, as we'll see Butler punch it in for the Oklahoma Sooners. And now Baylor with a chance to try to respond back, trying to get another score on the board. And Jason Carter, hey, Mr. Carter, how have you been? That's going to be a touchdown for Baylor. But Oklahoma looking to tack on a field goal before we go into the halftime locker room. So a very entertaining first half, but a first half in which we will see Baylor take a 28-17 lead into the locker room. The million-dollar question is, can this Baylor team keep it up? They've had some certainly a handful of consistency issues throughout this time in the NCSL. One time they could look like the most dominant team in college football. Other times, we have no idea what Baylor is doing, right? But Reggie Anderson's going to make this really interesting here. 35-31 could be your score, but they opt to go for the 2-point conversion, though. And the 2-point conversion actually does get converted. Carl Irvin able to win with that outside leverage. So now the Sooners are going to try an onside kick here to see if they can actually get this to work or not. And it was a decent bounce, but great job there by the hands team. We should be done with this particular game, but are we going to see a Miami situation? Because we're seeing Baylor actually continuing to be aggressive. They're trying to maybe run up this score a little bit because Oklahoma is out of timeouts. You would think we would see the victory formation. No, it's a pass. Unlike Miami, it actually works out though. So Baylor scores again. And the Baylor Bears get some style points here. They beat Oklahoma by 10 out in Waco, Texas. But now we go and check in on that number 9 team in the nation, the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii. They're getting ready to go to action here against North Carolina. And the Tar Heels are actually going to get that opening salvo. They'll actually get 6 points on the board early, but they missed the extra point. That was a common theme here as we see Vinny Midnight, another one of your custom guys, finds the end zone. You love to see the custom guys getting involved in the highlights. But a bad day for the North Carolina kicker here, right? The 2 missed extra points. It's rare to see a college kicker miss an extra point. This kid is going to miss 2. Hopefully it doesn't haunt them down the line, but even those missed extra points, North Carolina with a very dominant first half thus far. Hawaii just trying their best to try to get back into this game, and they will with their quarterback Mike Pierre, who keeps it on the read option. So Hawaii is getting back into the game. Matter of fact, they're only down by a couple of points. They have a chance to take the lead here on this drive. Literally all they have to do is just not turn the ball over and they should be good. And Mike Pierre, well, he's gonna do more than that. That's an incredible one-handed grab by Tony Hill. Oh my, that is a certified bad man. And they'll even go for the 2-point conversion. They actually do get it. So 25-19 in favor of Hawaii. And Hawaii looking to pull away here in this fourth quarter. But Derek Walker does get shaken up. That would be a loss for this offense if it's a long-term injury. Probably won't see him for the rest of this game, though. However, it might not be necessary as Mike Pierre will again punch it in on the ground. That's his third touchdown of the day. They're going to go for a 2-point conversion once more to make it an even 14-point game. Pierre is going to throw it out to the right-hand side. It's caught! Touchdown! But wait, it's an ineligible man downfield. Oh, that is a bad penalty on John Douglas. But Hawaii's still going to win regardless, though. 31-19. We'll see if they move up any from this win. But now we go and check in on the number 6 team in the country, the Miami Hurricanes, taking on the team that's in the exact opposite position, this UAB squad. Oh, UAB has been down horrendous. One of the worst teams in college football, but these two teams are going to get together because this actually is a conference game. And it looks like Miami, well, even though it's one of the worst teams in the country, they are not taking them lightly at all. Miami giving them the business in this first half. They already have a 14-0 lead, and we've already played a quarter of football, to say the least. And after that first quarter, it simply does not get better for UAB. Miami's going to get yet another red zone opportunity. Going to be down by the goal line, looking to go 3 for 3. Call it a soccer hat trick, and Sean Campbell is going to score for Miami. This Miami team had no trouble against UAB. They go on the road and win 49-0. So we do get some studio updates, though, as BYU is able to win a close one against Wake Forest. And that does give BYU their second win of the season, while Wake Forest will drop their third game in this young season. Then in other studio updates, we have an upset on our hands. Number 20 Tulane went on the road, took on Mississippi State, but the Bulldogs were able to get a top 20 win at home, as the Bulldogs are back above 500 with a 3-2 record. Tulane drops their second game. And then finally, we have Clemson taking on Purdue, and actually was a closer game than anticipated. Clemson is still undefeated. And to round things out, Cal took on San Diego State. San Diego State actually might be a team that should be ranked in the top 25 at some point, but give Cal credit. They found a way to win. They're still undefeated, and they should climb up in the top 25 polls. So we have some more games getting ready to go into action here shortly. 3 top 10 teams notably in action. Georgia, USC, Texas, all going to be playing in this particular time slot. We'll check first on the number 7 team in America, the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll be going to Atlanta to take on Georgia State. The Panthers of Georgia State, who still haven't won a game yet this season. It has been a rough time for one of your guys' custom coaches and offensive coordinator Josephi Krakowski, the former FCS running back at Georgia Southern, for those OGs that follow the FCS Dynasty back when that was running. Georgia does win big here against Georgia State, 53-7. So really not a ton to see in that particular game. Oregon, on the other hand, I'm curious to see what this Oregon team has. They're already lost a couple of games. We thought there could be a top 25 team that would disappoint, and, well, they certainly have done so thus far, as USC actually might mess around and take this into a pick-6. They got it! Oh my goodness. So Oregon was going to take the lead, but then Thomas Gibson throws it up into double coverage, and it turns into 7 points the other way. You literally could not make this up. And it was USC's only touchdown for a while. Matter of fact, Oregon actually takes the lead with less than 3 minutes left in the first half. Ben Scott's got to get something going on the offensive side of the ball. It's been a rough sledding going up against this Oregon defense. Been a feisty bunch thus far out here in the City of Angels, as Ben Scott is going to drop back the pass. He's looking over the middle. He's going to find Ray Jefferson for a 10-yard reception. That's good for the first down. And USC approaching the red zone for the very first time today. Scott looks over to the left-hand side and finds an open Kevin Porter. The tight end is going to have a 27-yard touchdown, and the Trojans, they'll take the lead before going into the halftime locker room. But Oregon's sticking around. They are playing some good ball, some solid ball, matter of fact, as we have another custom receiver, Chris Gentry, who's just had an electric day, over 100 yards receiving, plus a touchdown too to go with it. He actually was the touchdown recipient back in that first quarter, or the first half. Oregon still ahead of USC though, 17-14. Now your score. Scott looking to try to change that though. He has all day, could have made himself a whole 3-course meal, but instead he's just gonna pound it in all by himself, and USC back up on top. Going into the fourth quarter, the Trojans looking to hang on and trying to survive, as this certainly have not been the best day for the USC football team, but they're starting to wake up here in the second half. They might pull away here in the last couple of minutes here, as they will hand it off to their tailback, Matt Sullivan. He'll score for USC, as that will put the ultimate nail into the coffin. USC is going to come out and win this 35-17 to try to remain in this top 5. But now we check in on Virginia Tech, going on the road, taking on a winless South Carolina team. Now, South Carolina wasn't by any means supposed to be one of these elite teams, or a team that's going to compete for the ACC championship, but the fact that they're winless is a huge surprise to me. We'll see if South Carolina can finally get a win in that, just get something in that W column. Andy Triplett, he's going to score for South Carolina. They do miss the extra point though, so Virginia Tech, if they score a touchdown here, and that is an if, Virginia Tech could be the ones that could take the lead instead of it just being a tie ball game. It's the little things that could make the ultimate difference, as Jonathan Alvarez, yeah, he's going to find the end zone, matter of fact. And unlike that South Carolina kicker, Virginia Tech's guy, he's actually going to hit the extra point, and then they'll also hit this field goal too in order to extend the lead. 10-6 will be your score for the time being. However, South Carolina is looking to try to get back on top. They tried to run this shovel pass. For whatever reason, CPU just isn't the most effective in terms of running that shovel pass. But they are effective at throwing the ball, running that forwards till it hurts. And the Triplett's going to get a second passing touchdown of the day. And South Carolina finds itself with the lead. And in the second half, they have a chance to extend said lead. Triplett's going to look over the middle. He'll find Vernon Scott, who caught that touchdown earlier today. He almost gets his second one, but will be dropped inside the 3-yard line though. Taylor Latimer is going to finish that particular drive off, and South Carolina looking pretty good. But, you know, I was talking about how that extra point could haunt. Well, it's certainly haunting now, as we have ourselves a tied game instead of South Carolina just trying to get into victory formation. Interesting development happening right now, as South Carolina looking to try to drive downfield inside the 35-yard line. Triplett's got some time though, runs out of it, and he fumbles. He puts the ball on the ground, and instantly, if I'm not mistaken, Virginia Tech might be in field goal range. We'll see how they play this, and yeah, they do drive it all the way inside the 5-yard line, sets up a chip shot of a field goal, and Virginia Tech, that's how they're going to win. So just by missing that extra point, South Carolina couldn't try to run out the clock. It hurts them in the end. And the Gamecocks, well, they're still going to search for their first win. They're 0-5. But a team that is certainly not 0-5, but could be going in that direction if they're not careful, is Tulsa. They also have not won a single game yet this season, but it's not as bad. They only played a couple of games. Although I don't know if it's going to happen, their first one's going to happen here. Even though they're at home, they are taking on the #1 team in college football, the Texas Longhorns. And this Texas team has certainly been motivated. They were left out of college football playoff even though they lost one game. They lost one game and they were left out of college football playoff. Those Longhorns fans are pissed off. This team is pissed off, and they're looking for some blood as Texas looks to continue how impressive that they've looked. And that includes that top 25 victory at the beginning of the season against the Cornhuskers of Nebraska. That was a top 10 win at the time. Texas, however, looking to extend this lead, and sure enough, what a dime in the back of the end zone by Chase Ingram. He's been certified him today, 16 for 18, 2 passing touchdowns. But how does Ingram live it up? Well, he's going to throw an interception. I just spent all that time towards the end of the first half building up Chase Ingram. And what does he do coming out of the half? He's going to throw an interception. You hate to see it. And Tulsa could use that interception to try and get back into this game. They really could use a touchdown on this particular drive. Don't know if field goal is going to help them out at all, so to speak, as they'll try to run for it on 3rd and short, and not only they get the first down, they'll get the touchdown, as Tulsa does, matter of fact, use that interception to get right back into the game. And after a quick possession by Texas, Tulsa can make it a 1-score game. This suddenly could have upset alert written all over it if Texas cannot make a stand down here in the red zone. 2nd and short coming up, though. We're going to try to run it again. This time the quarterback is going to keep it, and Jamal Owens gets the job done. Tulsa scores, and we got ourselves a game yet again. 27-24. Texas allowing them back into the game. I thought this was going to be one of those. All right, Texas up 27-10. We're probably going to sim out early. No, this is not the case. Tulsa showing a lot of fight for a team that, lost to them convincingly in the conference championship game. And that's another thing to keep of note. This is actually a rematch of the Big 12 championship back in season number 2. And that's just last season, except it was in Austin, Texas. But Texas looks like it's getting ready to pull away here. They're looking for their 5th 40 burger of the year. And if they do score on this possession, they will make it 5 times that they've scored 40 or more in the 5 games that they've played in. And there it is, folks. Trey Dixon gets Texas over that 40-point threshold. Texas will take in a commanding lead. Although Tulsa will at least get a little bit of garbage points, will make the score look a little bit better. And listen, even with it being a 20-point blowout or a 14-point blowout or whatever happens after that, this game was actually a lot closer than what people expected it to be. Just Texas did what they needed to do to pull away weight. But now we'll have a battle of the Iron Skillet rivalry as SMU, who is winless, they go into Fort Worth, Texas. They'll be taking on the Horned Frogs of TCU, and this has one of your guys' custom coaches, Jake Jacobs, who's a defensive coordinator, and I'm sure he's irate. No shot that Todd Williams should have gotten this touchdown. That is blasphemy. And so TCU down 7-0 already, looking to win the Iron Skillet. SMU has not won that particular rivalry game, at least just yet. Jake Jacobs, however, hoping his offense can get into the end zone here as they're going to try to pitch it out to the right-hand side. No! Brigham Blaylock is going to keep it himself. He does almost scored, but gets it down inside the 1-yard line, though. Calling another option play. They fake it to him. Blaylock could have ran it in himself, but instead pitches it. Like, what are we doing? Does Blaylock have SMU money line? The NCSL competition committee might need to investigate that maybe after this season, see what's really going on in that program, because TCU has too much offensive talent to be doing like stuff like that. But they will recover both financially and physically. TCU will eventually take the lead, but SMU looking to respond as nobody goes to the quarterback. Quarterback for SMU, Derek Ford, he runs it all by himself, untouched. And now it's SMU that could take control of the Iron Skillet rivalry game. And if that was thrown a little bit higher, I truly believe that could have been a touchdown. Instead, it's Derek Ford's 3rd interception of the day. It's been a rough day for Derek Ford, to say the least. So Brigham Blaylock with a chance to take the lead, and he does! Blaylock finds the end zone, and TCU is back out on front. But SMU quickly responds with a score of their own, so they need this offense to score again. And this offense peaking at the right time, showing its most offensive rhythm throughout the day. Goal line situation for TCU. down by the goal line. Blaylock makes a man miss, and Blaylock scores. TCU has the lead, and they will hang on and win the Iron Skillet yet again, with your final score being 24-20 in favor of TCU. So we do have some more studio updates coming our way, and it's Texas Tech playing some really good football, even though they are not ranked in the top 25. They beat UTSA 33-21, and UTSA has been a solid team this season too, and I'm not talking about a liquid or a gas. Meanwhile, while we're thinking about the Big 12, how about Rice? Rice has been continuing to prove that you should not play with food. Rice wins big 55-27, so Rice is still undefeated as well. And then we got another studio update. How about this? Louisiana Tech, they stun Auburn 35-27 at home. The Auburn Tigers, they got into the top 25 after being on bye, and they quickly showed why. They are in fact not a top 25 team, even though they were 3-0. They dropped what should have been a very winnable game for Auburn. Louisiana Tech is the most mysterious team in college football, getting some top 25 wins, but also has some head scratchers. They're going to be 2-3 after this. Another studio update though, we have New Mexico and Utah State. They just go final two, and New Mexico is going to get to 500 yet again. They win their second game of 52-28 against Utah State. Turns into a shootout. So we have some more games getting ready to come in your direction. Get a top 25 game for the first time in a little bit. Memphis and LSU going to set to kick it off later. But first we'll check in on Wisconsin and Iowa State. Did that running back just got back up? Joe Bullock never quit. He never heard a whistle, and when he was down, and I'm saying that with quotation marks because you can't see my face on a webcam or anything, you know, want to give the full attention to the players. His knees never, or any body part actually touched the ground. He was laying on top of an Ohio State defender, and that's going to be really important because that's going to turn into a Wisconsin touchdown here. Joe Bullock is going to score. So Joe Bullock just showing some sheer will and some sheer determination gives Wisconsin the lead over that number 3 team in college football, and that is the Ohio State Buckeyes, who are in action right now, getting everything that they can handle from this Wisconsin team as well. Vincent Gold actually going to have to try to get some big-time throws in to try to put Ohio State back up front, back in the lead, because this has turned into a more defensive affair than maybe what people want to realize. Is we'll see Vincent Gold, he's going to hand it off to Drew Manning, and Drew Manning is going to pick up a gain of 7 there. But still, looking at a 4th down though, we'll see what Ohio State does for the 4th down, and Keith Carter is going to score. Ohio State officially in the lead for the very first time today. And after a quick Wisconsin possession, Ohio State with 2 timeouts, they have a chance to add on to this lead even more so. We've got 1 timeout remaining as Carter, he's going to drop back, looks to the right hand side, finds an open receiver, and it's going to be a touchdown to Keith Carter. And that's what Keith Carter does. He burns defenses all season long. And that is no different here. Ohio State now with a little bit of a commanding lead. And Vincent Gold really starting to find that rhythm too. Gold with a solid performance, 180 and 2 touchdowns to this point in the game. But Wisconsin really needs some points on the board. They need it quickly as Wisconsin down by 17. Not a spot that you want to be in on the road, taking on the number 3 team in the nation, mind you. And it's certainly a tough environment being felt here in the Horseshoe. But Joe Bullock will silence the crowd briefly as he'll find his way into the end zone. So Wisconsin trying to work themselves back into this game. But you do have to wonder though, is it going to be a little bit too little too late though? Only time will tell as we now enter the 4th quarter. Wisconsin still down by a couple of possessions. Every drive that happens is going to be more critical for the Wisconsin Badgers. 3rd and 5 coming up as we got this quarterback in a shotgun formation. Looks to the right hand side, and Ronald Huston couldn't get away from that defender, but does move the sticks for the Wisconsin Badgers as they go into their I formation, go into their tailback, and their tailback, Joe Bullock, is going to score. Wisconsin is back in the game, and it puts pressure on the Ohio State offense. They're trying to put him away. Gold, though, he's going to get the pitch out to his Drew Manning, and Drew Manning nearly messes around and finds the end zone there. We'll see what the Buckeyes do in the goal line. They've been really successful down by the goal line today, as we have a little bit of a glitch there, but looks like the glitch gods get it back to Ohio State. Did not think that tight end actually found the end zone. That might have been a call that should have been reviewed, but while we're waiting for the end of this game, we do get a studio update right after the 2-point conversion. How about San Jose State 4-1? They should get some top 25 consideration as well. But back to our game, though, it looks like Ohio State is going to close this one out, but they choose to go for the style points, and Mark Baker is going to be the one responsible for getting said style points up into the end zone, and they will win 42-21. Wasn't always pretty, but the Buckeyes find a way to get that offense going. Meanwhile, we have Stanford going on the road to take on number 4 Washington. This is Stanford's biggest test of the entire season. You know, they've been taking on the likes of Texas A&M as well as some of the lesser teams in the country to get to that 3-0. How good is this Stanford squad really? And Washington, we'll see if they can expose the Cardinal in this home matchup here in the Pacific Northwest, as we find ourselves here in Husky Stadium in Seattle, Washington. And yeah, Washington will jump out to a 10-0 lead here in that first quarter of action. So quickly, we are seeing that, okay, maybe Stanford might not be as good as advertised, but that's quickly going to change those. Andrew Adams, he'll find the end zone for the second time today for the Stanford Cardinal. Allows them to get back into the game. Only a 3-point difference, though. But Washington looking to wake things up here in the second half. They don't want this Stanford team to be in shouting distance any longer. 1st and 10. Dropping back as Castillo looks to the left-hand side and finds Cole McIntyre for the first down. Sets up a goal line situation. In Washington, they know a thing or two about running the football. It shows on that final play as Washington punches it in with Andy Curtis. Touchdown, Huskies. And Stanford is down by 10 yet again, but Washington wants to go for the kill late in the third quarter. Castillo breaks a tackle and nearly gets the first down there too. It's 3rd and short, the kind of situations that this Washington team loves to be in. Looks like they're going to run the ball with only a few guys in the box. No, it's a pass. Castillo looks over the middle, and it's caught. Touchdown, Huskies. Castillo gets another one up on the scoreboard, and it looks like Stanford is just not ready to really compete with the big boys, at least not yet. They're making some positive progress for sure. Don't get me wrong about that. But Stanford just simply not ready, it seems like, to compete with those big boys. But we still have 5 minutes left in this game. They will go for the 2-point conversion. And Stanford's going to get the 2-point conversion. So could get a little bit interesting there if they can get some stops on the other end, which Stanford is clearly not doing at the moment. Brandon Turner, he's going to get this reception here for 9 yards. As we're now looking at a goal line situation. In the shotgun, Castillo runs it up the right-hand side, and Andy Curtis is going to score again. Washington with a message being sent by Stanford, letting them know they're still the little bros. But meanwhile, we'll check in on an unranked matchup completely between Notre Dame and Northwestern. But Notre Dame has won their first few games of the year, albeit all in this MAC conference, which has been documented as being the weakest conference in all of the NCSL college football universe. But Notre Dame has dominated those games, though, and it looks like they're on the warpath to dominate this game as well. Notre Dame is going to take a quick 14-0 lead, and that lead is quickly growing here as well. They're going to hand it off to the tailback, Ben Bentley, who I actually thought was going to get into the end zone there, but Bentley's actually going to be short of the first down marker. However, it won't be long until Notre Dame finds the end zone yet again. Their quarterback, Greg Hunt, well, he was all by himself, wide butt naked open on the triple option. And the Fighting Irish score yet again, and they dominate yet again. Notre Dame beats Northwestern 42-14, doing so on the road. And now we finally get into our top 25 matchup that we have between the Tigers of Memphis and another Tigers team located in the Bayou in LSU. As you can take a quick look at the standings in the Bayou division right now within the Sun Belt Conference, must-win game for both teams, trying to keep themselves relevant in the Bayou divisional title race, with the new college football playoff format automatically giving a college football playoff berth to the champion of each conference, since we are now in that 12-team format. But Memphis struggling to trying to get something going here. They almost find their way into the end zone. They drive all the way down, and what happens? They turn it over in the red zone. That is a morale killer, if anything else. So now LSU is all knotted up against this Memphis squad still, and LSU now has the ball in their hands, and this quarterback wants to open up the scoring all by himself. Touchdown LSU, and Derek Brown getting it done all by himself. I mean, look at this running that we witnessed. Makes a man miss, and then his blocking does the rest of the work. No one is gonna catch him after that. Derek Brown was certainly gone. And say it with me, like a girl in a country song. Yes, it is, kids. So LSU now has the lead, up 7-0. But Memphis looking to get a big run play of their own down the sideline. Doesn't turn into a touchdown. Doesn't do that, but Memphis now has a chance to finally score. They've been held scoreless thus far as they go with a play action all the time in the pocket and finds an open John Bain in the back of the end zone. Touchdown Memphis. And the Tigers, if they make the extra point, they will be able to tie it up here in Death Valley. A tough environment to play in, even though this LSU team has maybe not played up to expectations during the course of his NCSL series. But how about this throw over the middle by Derek Brown? He got it done with the legs earlier. Well, now he's getting it done with the arm. Damian Morton's also going to handle the rest. Breaks the tackle, gets away from a defender as well. Brown has not had many chances to throw the ball today. When he does, he makes the most of those chances. Able to provide that and turn that into 7 points. LSU is going to be back up on front, now with a 14-7 lead. Now we jump into that second half. It is still a tightly contested game between both of these squads, and we might have another big run on our hands. We do. This time it's Sean Callahan. He's been pretty quiet today. Hasn't had the chance to carry the ball much, but that's his biggest run of the entire day so far, and it leads into an LSU touchdown. Damian Morton, he is going to strike yet again as Damian Morton beats the press coverage on the outside, and LSU back up in the lead, 21-7. Memphis trying to answer back, and Chris Vogel will provide. Gets the Tigers of Memphis back into this game. And it's going to come down to that fourth quarter. But boy, we got ourselves an exciting game. Both teams showing that they belong in the top 25 clearly, even though they both have losses already. Memphis almost ties the game there, but disaster strikes yet again, and you saw the turnovers in that bottom left-hand corner on the score bug. That's the third turnover for Memphis today. That's really been the difference. Both teams been playing some solid ball overall, but those free turnovers, Memphis simply could not overcome. LSU, well, they'll end up winning 21-14. That will be your final score. But we have yet another top 25 matchup coming your way. It's the Crimson Tide of Alabama, number 12 in the entire country. They will be taking on the number 13 ranked Ole Miss Rebels. Both teams kind of reeling going into this matchup. Alabama nearly lost to Cincinnati, and then Ole Miss actually did lose to that Memphis team that we saw in gameplay against LSU. So both teams, you could say, are in that wounded animal mode. The question is, who's going to want it more? And at least at the beginning, it seems like Alabama does have that advantage. Matt Burchard, late in the first quarter of action, well, he'll punch it in himself. Breaks a tackle in order to do it. That's a tough kid. Watches his fair share of hockey highlights for sure. But then Ole Miss has a chance to answer back late in the first quarter. And Eric Archie, he's a mobile quarterback, and he wants to show he can get it done himself. And Eric Archie gets brought down inside the 5-yard line. That's a shame, because after that, the drive stalls out. So Ole Miss did have to settle for a field goal. But wait, in that second quarter, though, Archie again gets a chance to run it. This time, he pitches it out, and it turns out to be a great decision. That almost turns into a touchdown as well. Lewis Kelly gets dropped inside the 5-yard line. But the Rebels are certainly in business, so as they're going to run it out to the right-hand side for Eric Archie. And he'll score number 1 with 1 rushing touchdown here in the first half. But more importantly, giving Ole Miss the lead with 1:30 left to play in this first half. Can Alabama answer back, though, as Burchard looks over to the left-hand side and throws a bomb down the perimeter, and he's still going. Eventually forced out of bounds, but Ernest Concepcion has the Crimson Tide instantly in the red zone. And a few plays later, Quentin Lake, he is going to finish the job. So Alabama back up on top, 14-10. After the extra point is successfully made. But Ole Miss still has a timeout of their own. Is that too much for Eric Archie and company? And the answer might be yes, and it is! Stephen Castillo with a 56-yard touchdown of its own, and both offenses going absolutely ballistic here in the second quarter. And here's the thing, that wasn't even press coverage there. The safety was just caught flat-footed. Thought it was going to be a run for whatever reason. Just poor situational awareness there. You hate to see it from the safety. And now Alabama once again down by a field goal. And it might not be getting much better here in the second half. Although we do have a flag on the field. We'll have to check to see what the flag is. Because if it's against Ole Miss, and it looks like it's not, it is not a penalty. It's going to be offensive pass interference on Jamie Rogers. Imagine having pass interference called on you and then simultaneously be called for pass interference. Like, what are we doing here? If you're going to be that egregious with it, at least make sure they don't actually get the interception. But Ernest Concepcion having a big day. 5 catches, 133 yards, created a huge spark for the Alabama offense. As we'll see Burchard find Carl Willis in the end zone. Touchdown, Alabama. And Matt Burchard is going to lift Alabama over Ole Miss. And that's going to make this Sun Belt Conference very interesting. We'll see how the rest of the conference season plays out. But we are going to be in for a fun divisional title race in both sides this year. So now that we had that extremely competitive game against between Ole Miss and Alabama, let's go ahead and take the time to now go look at some other scores that happened around the country. Nebraska, they are able to notch their 3rd straight win on the year. They took on Bowling Green in conference play. Nebraska wins 23-6, but they'll need more from their offense if they're going to repeat as American Conference champions. Meanwhile, the Troy Trojans are continuing their turbulent season number 3 as they fall to 1-4, lose to the Raging Cajuns 34-0. The Raging Cajuns undefeated at 5-0, so they're on the verge of going to a bowl game. However, they are still not getting that national respect yet, as they are not ranked in the top 25 or receiving votes either. But we do have an upset that happens on our hands as Missouri's offense explodes for 50+ points against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa loses their first game of the season 56-35 and this win is going to catapult Missouri into the top 25, while Iowa, well, they're going to fall outside of the top 15. As for the Michigan Wolverines, they start a dominant start to season number 3 as they now get to 4-0. They blow out the Ohio Bobcats 52-21 as Michigan climbs into that top 5. As for the Seminoles of Florida State, they're going to remain undefeated, but man, did they needed to make a comeback happen. Florida State was actually down going into the fourth quarter, but 22 unanswered points saves their undefeated season. Florida State is now 3-0, while Georgia State Southern, they're going to drop their second game of the season, and that includes their conference opener that they've just played. Meanwhile, for Southern Alabama, they were not as fortunate as they are going to drop their first game of the season. Southern Alabama going to lose to Arkansas State here 38-17. The Jaguars are still in the top 25, but they are on thin ice as they fall all the way down to number 20 in the country. However, Southern Miss doesn't fall under that same trap as they are going to tune things up going into conference action. Southern Miss wins 30-14, but the Cincinnati team is better than I think what their record shows, playing 3 top 25 opponents, including the Southern Miss game, Alabama, and they also played up against Ole Miss in their season opener. I'm interested to see how Cincinnati does in Big Ten conference action. So we've had some movement in the top 25, but we don't see any movement in the top, as this is what your top 10 is looking like as of right now. We actually don't have any changes in the top 10. It is exactly the same that we left it last week. But outside of that top 10, though, we do have a little bit of a change. We do start to see some movement. Clemson, for example, they were on bye, but because of what happened around the country, Clemson moves up a few spots, as does the Florida Gators, who we saw in gameplay today. Rice got a really good win against Oklahoma State, 55-27. They're actually going to host Oregon next week, so we'll see what that Rice team can do with that Oregon squad. Arkansas, they move up 3 spots as well after a good win against Texas A&M. Cal doing the same after a close one against San Diego State. Then we see our first team that fell a little bit. Ole Miss falls 4 spots, even though they had a heartbreaker against Alabama. They go on the road and take on another top 25 opponent in the next episode, so Ole Miss does not have very much time to recover. Iowa, they moved down 4 spots as well, still in the top 20 at number 18, but looking to bounce back against Kansas. LSU up a few spots to 19. They'll take on Bowling Green on the road, though. South Alabama, biggest faller in this group. They fell 9 spots, and they're going to be hosting Ole Miss next episode. And then rounding out your top 25, we have Missouri, who jumps in at number 21. Nebraska at 22. Southern Miss, who's up a couple of spots, up to number 23. Memphis, still in the top 25. They're number 24 in the country. And rounding out your top 25 is the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Notre Dame gets in at number 25 in the country. While they haven't played a legitimate opponent yet, they've been dominating every single team that they've played so far this year. But that will wrap things up in another edition of the NCSL here on NCAA 14, featuring that college football revamp. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J. Gaming on the mic, signing off, but hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.